I don't know if this is working. Okay, it says I'm live. Hey. Hey. Okay. Right, I'm just gonna redo what I was fucking doing earlier on because I tried to do this, and for some reason, even though I didn't do anything different, it didn't stream. So, I don't know what the fuck happened there. I don't know why the fuck that happened, but it did happen. Ooh, stream health is low. Why is my stream health low? The internet can totally see you now. To stop, use your encoder. Oh, okay. Wait, what? Okay. So, hold on. Let me check this on my phone. How do I find when I'm live? Aha. It's live. Okay, grand. Right. So, let's get into it. Hello, I'm Don the Mexican. I'm going to do this super fucking quickly because I already did this and I really want my fucking lunch and I haven't got to have lunch because I went to check to see, to make sure all the streaming and everything was good on my site, on my channel, and there was no stream. Wasn't there. So, that made me have a fucking conniption. But here we are, doing it again. Haha. Gotta get work. Gotta get it done. Dan, Mexican, streamings, socials, like, subscribe, all of those things. They're all there. All this. Oh, it's really weird. Yeah, 3D space. So yeah, do all those things. Right. I just want to brush over very quickly that because of the nonsense that happened at the end of the UFC 229, there was a lot of fights and fighters that did really well. And I think that they kind of got brushed under the rug as a result. So just very quickly, shout out to Martin for his head kick of Ryan LaFleur. Shout out to Nick Lentz of his head kick of Gray Maynard. Sorry, Gray. Shout out to Janos Kunitskaya for I mean, I think the girl got like 8 strikes in or something, or like it was like 80-something% of the fight was controlled by Yana, and like 18% was the other girl, and then like whatever percentage in the middle was just the in between sizing and pawing and distance and raging and shit. But fair play, 30-27. Fucking bet the crap out of her. Not just bet the crap, just dominated. Just absolutely dominated her in every facet. Oh, shout out to Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman. Won the fight by elbows, vicious elbows, because he broke his hands. Maybe not the best decision. It happened later on with a fighter. They break their hands, and the cornerman's like, did you actually break your hand? Yeah, I think. Okay, before you answer that question, 1, you better be honest with me because I'm going to be super pissed if you're not honest with me. But 2, if your hand is broken, I can't let you continue fighting. Oh, well, be honest. I think my hand's broken. All right, that's it. I'm not having you fight, man. That's dumb. That didn't happen. Scott Holtzman kept fighting. You got the win anyway, but, you know, that's 2 hand surgeries you now have to have. So, was it juice worth the squeeze? Maybe that early in your career? It probably is. Yeah, and then Aspen Lad. Bet the breaks off of Tanya Evinger. I thought she'd have it a bit longer. I thought she'd be able to hold it better. I thought she'd be a bit tougher. God help her, man. I thought Aspen Lad is mean. Like, there was at the point where she has her back. Aspen, I'm not sure if she has the hooks in or one hook in, or if she just has the back mount. But I think she has a bit of control. She might not have the whole hooks in, but she definitely has her thighs underneath the chest, I think, of Evinger. But Evinger is either flat out or kind of rolls to her side to get away, or flat out or rolls to her side. And Aspen is just finding her moments to bang, bang. And it's not like hellacious, kind of nuts, like every 1 out of 50 of these flays will actually connect. No, it's like trying to find her shot. And there was a few of those shots where you see she connected, and the sound you're hearing is the echoing reverb of her fist hitting the bone, reverbing through the canvas. So it's this boom, it's just a thump, this added knock thump. Oh, it's really fucking hard to watch, man. And plus you hear it, and it's just like, oh Jesus, she's already dead. Fair play to Aspen Ladd. That was fucking destruction. That was in the first round as well. KO. Fair play to Formiga for just getting the better of Pettis for the whole fight. I don't think it was as decisively split as they said it was, but I still, like, it was like unanimous, but still, I think he did well enough to win. And Michelle Waterson, I got that wrong. I thought Felice Herrig would be tenacious enough, and they would both be, even though they have different skills, they both kind of probably at the same level of ability with their skill and, you know, level of opponent having faced and shit, like strength of schedule. That's it. That Felice Herrig would have just that bit more power and a bit more tenacity. No, man. The move of the fight was Michelle Waterson using her feet as jabs to keep distance. She was fucking on point with that. She also lit her up as well when it came to it. She knuckled in for it as well. It was a good fight, man. All in all, really good performance by Michelle Waterson. I was very, very impressed. It was two. Oh yeah, Dominic Reyes knockout of Vince Prue was called a decision because the way it ended, and with, like, he fell to the ground. And I don't know why they called the decision. He was blatantly on the fucking floor. Dominic Reyes had walked off, and it went, and the ref was like, "Come on, get up," and he didn't get up. And then you heard for the end of the round. So it was at least a TKO, at least, but they gave him decision. Look out for Dominic Reyes, man. That guy's 9-0, and he bet the fuck out of OSP. And OSP is no slouch. No fucking slouch. Just because he got knocked out by Manoa, like, people get knocked out by big heavy hitters, and then other people are like, oh, that's it, their career's done. No. But he bet the brakes off him, and then he finished him at the end. That says a lot, man. That says a lot. Watch out for Dominic Reyes. He's going to be a serious... I think... Like, Dominic Reyes could be one of those people that will start fighting chaps like Volkan, and probably end up, you know, getting through them too. So look out for that dude. Pettis versus Ferguson was fucking incredible, man. I absolutely love that fight. It was so nice to see Pettis really back into it. Like, he did good in his last performance, but really back into it. There's a lot to be said for, you know, spending too much time on trying to cover up and trying to sharpen what you're not good at to the level of the stuff that you are good at is kind of futile, because you end up or at least go back away from honing and the consistent sharpening of the things you are already good at, and then kind of everything suffers. He's gone back to what brought him to the dance, and he's done a lot better. And Duke Rufus, thank you for being a sensible fucking person. You can't let a fighter make the decisions themselves. A lot of times they will fight like the Black Knight in Monty Python with no arms, no legs, and be like, I'll fucking bite your legs off. I will bite your face. I will climb onto your body with my teeth, and I will bite your face until you're dead. And that level of just no quit, you need sometimes a corner guy to be like, yeah, bro, no. So that was good, but still, great fight. Tony Ferguson, man, even though he can get rocked, he's dangerous when he gets rocked. When that guy starts rolling around, you want to keep your distance and be careful, because he can snatch a leg and end the fight, man. He's a mad bastard. Not the best thing to have at this level of his career, which is that he has a Forrest Griffin-esqueness where he kind of has to be reminded he's in a fight before his body and brain fully cracks into the mode. It can be not the best thing when later on in your career, but we shall see. Either way, great fucking fight. Tony started piecing him apart. Despite getting taken down in the first round and Anthony doing some really good work from top, Tony started really piecing him apart in the third or second round, was it? Second round, really started piecing him apart. Got one or two off the cage Showtime Superman punches, like fucking class, against Showtime. So that was cool. They both got 50 grand for a fight of the night because fuck me, they deserved it. And the main event, right? So it was really interesting listening to John Kavanagh because I don't know. Still, sometimes I watch stuff and I don't know if my eyes are biased or not. And this particular fight, I think it's very, very obvious that most people knew, even if they were dick riders of Conor, fans of Conor, not fans of Conor, it doesn't matter. I think it was very obvious in the air that your brain said Khabib, your heart said Conor. Like, oh, wouldn't it be mad if he could win? But Khabib's probably going to win. Hearing John Kavanagh kind of talk about what I was saying about Pettis, so that was kind of cool and refreshing to know that, hey, I'm not so like stupid at looking at stuff that I'm like, he's not as flashy and as offensive as he usually is. I don't know if that's ring rust or whatever, but he's kind of doing a bit more of the flat-footed stuff he complained that fighters used to do, what fighters were doing when he was on his way up. But then John Kavanagh was like, yeah, my biggest regret is, I'm pretty sure, now that I think about it, like, we really just spent the whole time on defense. We never actually really got back to, you know, doing what Conor was actually good at, what brought him to the dance. Then saying that, though, what he did learn and what he did do, you saw in that fight, man. I think at the moment, someone like Khabib, it's not necessarily can you survive the wave, can you survive the storm. It's how long can you survive the storm and how weathered and wrecked are you after it. And for the most part, I think he fared better than most, for the most part, especially in the early round. In the second round, watching it again, a lot, and I do this when it comes to those kind of flurries of punches, a lot of the shots you think land in real time don't. So I was actually quite impressed. I didn't think he would do as well as, I thought it would just be a Barboza, Michael Johnson level thing if he didn't clip him on the feet or something. So I'm actually really impressed with that. It doesn't change the fact, though, that Khabib is one bad motherfucker who has an ability at an elite level with a certain type of skill and an understanding of that skill and of how people are in his domain when he's on. That is, you need a very particularly different person that's just as uniquely odd as him to beat him. That's why I think Tony Ferguson's a much more compelling matchup. And if that Instagram from Dana is right, Khabib said he rejected a $15 million offer to fight Conor for a rematch. He wants to fight Tony Ferguson and then retire. The only part of that I think was a bald-faced lie is there's no way they offered him $15 million. They've never paid any UFC fighter straight up flat fee of $15 million. That's mental. Not including sponsored, not including pay-per-views, not including anything, just straight up, here's 15 mil just to fight, just to show. That's never happened, and I don't believe that. So, other than that, though, I hope that's the case. I don't care if anyone wants to bitch and moan about Ferguson and Khabib being like, oh no, we've tried it, man. We've tried it 4 times, it didn't happen. I don't care. You try it 10,000 times. As long as they're still physically capable of fighting, and they're not like Pacquiao, Mayweather level of age. And are you a politician now? What is this? Keep making that fight until it happens. So I really hope that is the case. And I'm not ignoring the elephant in the room. I just want to get that done because there was news that just dropped recently. Dana White Instagram that, and I just didn't know what the story was. Plus, he was like, "This is number one bullshit." So I was like, "Is he saying this tweet, this concept, is number one bullshit?" Because he heard something on the news saying that this was a headline or something like that from a piece of news, or is he's saying, no, this is actually a conversation that we had with Khabib and his agents, and that was the response they gave. This is number one. You talk about number one bullshit? This is number one bullshit. But either way, I want to put it out there. Look, the thing that got me into mixed martial arts, the thing that drew me in, that was the violence. That was the insanity and the level of how hardcore these guys are. That was BJ Penn licking his opponent's blood off his knuckles and smacking himself in the face, right? That's what got me in. But what hooked me was the level of unbelievable respect from two dudes who are honest when they say to the camera with their opponent right beside them, this person has no idea what they're in for. I'm going to take their fucking soul. I'm going to smash their face in. I'm going to make them hurt. I'm going to make them want to quit. They're going to have a bad day when they come home to their family. It's going to be a dark weekend. I've lost two, and it sucks. And I hate that it has to happen, but it's going to happen because there's no fucking way he's beating me. He's getting done. He's not going to get paid. I'm taking his money. I'm taking his joy. And I'm taking this fight. It's mine. Right beside the guy. And then the other guy will say pretty much similar things. If you think for 1 second you live in that delusion where you can just up and clean me out like that, you got another thing coming, sunshine. I'm fighting tooth and nail to the bitter end. You will have to kill me to get you off me. And you have nothing for my insert skill, you know? And it's legit and it's not faked. And then the fight comes. And then you have a serious blood and guts war. The kind of a fight where during, like when the bell goes and the ref tries to separate them, they're still just walking into each other, like, yeah, what? Like they're not ready to stop. Like they'll walk into each other until they smash each other out of existence. Like two fucking trucks coming in slow motion, and they just eviscerate each other. Once that fight finishes and the victor is declared, you get claps for the opponent. You get claps for the person who beat the shit out of the guy. From the guy who got the shit beaten out of him. You get claps from the person who won. You get the guy who won raising the hand of the guy who lost. Sometimes you get the guy who lost raising the hand of the guy who won, being like, this is amazing. You have the fighters going, listen, everybody, I want to give you a round of applause for insert opponent's name, because if it wasn't for them, the performance that I was able to give, this is the best performance I've ever had in my life. I put everything I had into this, and I would not have been able to pull that out of myself and know it was in me if it wasn't for this person bringing this out of me. Thank you so much. You're a fucking like all that kind of shit, man. I'm fucking half tearing up because that level of Jesus Christ, how can you be so composed and professionally, like, just boss with your emotions that you can get that hardcore? I'm here to fucking end you. You best hope that ref knows what they're doing, because I could end up taking your fucking life. To thank you so much for sharing this moment. Both of us put pieces of our lives in here together, and we are forever closer. We basically are brothers in war now. Like, that level of oxymoron, but held in perfect equilibrium. It's one of the most fucking compelling things I've ever seen in a sport. I've ever seen from people, man. That, to me, is mixed martial arts at its finest, at its highest level. That is a warrior. That is what Miyamoto Musashi is talking about. That is a fucking samurai. And at some point, it had to become more than just an underground sport, and it had to become mainstream, which means you have to dangle the shiny, loud shit in front of the casual observer so they stop paying attention to one thing and they go, huh? Oh. And turn to the next thing. And you got to be okay with that. You can't expect it to stay one way forever if you want growth. What you don't want, and what the fear is, that it forgets what it brought it to the dance. And I think 299 was the perfect example, the lead up and everything, and the eventual fallout of forgetting what brought you to the dance and going too far on one spectrum. If you balance them both, perfection. If you go too far on one or the other, it's either A, too boring for the casual people to pick up and bother their arse with, or B, it's too ostentatiously ridiculous for the people who actually cared about the sport to want to fucking bother with it anymore. You got to find your balance. It also has to be said that what athletes and fighters will do and what the company will then do with that footage, the knowledge of the action, are two very separate things, and one does not have any control over the other. So even though you should pay attention if you are a fighter and go, nearly everything I do can be put on Front Street, we have to remember that these people are still people. They're still human beings. They're not grown from a different fucking carbon box and like, ooh, we've reached enough money as a society to get another celebrity. Ooh. No, they're just people. And just as much as anyone listening to this can have the most eye-opening experience of conversation with someone that makes them really evaluate who they are, what they're doing, their principles, their priorities, and going, I'm going to make these changes and I'm going to pay more attention to this. And for the most part, they do. Still doesn't mean that in day-to-day shit, you fall back into these traps or you make these simple mistakes. You're always going to. The difference is when you make the mistake, keep trying to remember that was a mistake and you shouldn't have done that, and let me get better next time. And even if you make the mistake again, it mightn't be as bad or whatever, but you keep trying and you keep pursuing. We seem to have this concept that once you're famous, if you fuck up, you're dead. You're a waste of space, or you're at this enigmatic level where you can't do anything wrong. Like Justin Bieber. Like that photo where he pissed his pants, and then people actually showed, oh my God, even when he pisses his pants as an adult, I still want to have his babies. And you're like, you see, people like that shouldn't be listened to when you're talking about the opinion of this or what this person does. They're not in control of that. They just pissed themselves one day and other people decided to react to that. You don't get to pass judgment on these people. That's what the rank and file and rule of law is. And you gotta also know the system that you're in. And that system is, there isn't a single fucking business or sport or entity in the universe or family or anything that doesn't have favorites. It doesn't work. That's not how we operate as people. It's just not how anything works at all, ever, ever, ever. There will always be people who get treated differently, whether it's right or wrong. The justification for the treatment, the type of treatment. These are arguments that can be had on a different date. It does not change the overall factor that this occurs in life, permeating through everything. In regards to the Irish people who shot on McGregor, go fuck yourself, you waste of space. Irish people have this huge fucking problem with not wanting to pay attention to anybody at all who's from Ireland making their own fucking name, especially if they're being brash about it. Then when they reach a point where we find out the world knows who they are and doesn't hate them, we're all a part of the bandwagon and have been singing their praise since before they were fucking famous, apparently. And everyone knows them, and everyone went to school from them, and everyone lives around the corner from their parent or their auntie or their friend or some fucking shit. Like, it's ridiculous. People come out of woodwork saying, oh, I know Connor. I go into taxis with fucking people who are talking about how they fucking know them. Blah, blah. I'm like, oh, yeah. Yeah. Where are you from? Oh, I live around Foxrock. I live in Crumlin. I don't know who he is. I don't know his family. I've never met them. I have aunties and relatives who lived in Crumlin their whole lives. I mean, by their whole lives, I mean, they've lived in that area of land before Crumlin was called Crumlin. They don't necessarily fucking know the McGregors, right? But Irish people have this fucking bandwagon thing when people, oh, the world doesn't hate them. But the second they do something that anyone else in the world goes, ooh, I don't think we're happy about that, fuck, man, the Irish jump on with vitriol. Not the actual fans, the general community of voice of the Irish. The snooty, up their own arse fucking people who just want to shit on everything. And I don't understand it, man. The vitriol, the disgusting fucking comments that were coming out against Conor was ridiculous. Like, you'd think he's the first person ever to cause a fucking ruckus in some kind of sport scenario. Have you fucking watched sport entertainment at all in your life at all? I mean, the fucking gall and the nerve that not just the Irish, anyone from anywhere has to say that what happened at UFC 299 was a fucking disgrace. These fighters are terrible. And clutching their pearls and spitting on it and everything, and blessing themselves and going in circles and throwing salt over their shoulder. Like, wake the fuck up. There isn't a single sport that hasn't had a fucking fight in it or erupted in bullshit. And it's going to happen because it's fucking tribalism. That's what you're tapping into when you have a sport. That's exactly what you're tapping into. A base root tribalism that as a society, for the most part, we do thankfully try and have tried and shed and kind of do shed. But we still forget that that's the one part that's being kept alive is absolutely in sport more than anything else. It's not a bad thing, but understand that it's a part of it. There are boxing matches. There are boxing press conferences. There are football matches, soccer matches, rugby matches, fucking Gaelic matches, hurling matches, curling fucking games, baseball, basketball, any fucking ball, you name it, man. You can pull a scenario or more than one scenario where a fucking fight has broken out, or someone has gone on the pitch or on the fucking field of play or done something stupid, or the people involved have got aggressive and done something nuts. Like, go and look at tennis. The amount of times fucking people have fired their fucking racket at their opponent and like been completely disqualified from shit. Like, man, it happens fucking everywhere. But because it happens in the sport where there's actual fighters whose job and routine work is to fight another human being, all of a sudden we have a conniption. Jesus Christ, man. Eric Cantona beelined off the pitch and went straight for a Crystal Palace supporter and flying with football, soccer fucking spike cleats, double kicked the guy right in the chest face for slagging his man. He fucked that guy up, man. That guy went to hospital. He fucked that guy up. He got banned for a long time. Didn't change football. Football's still football. And I have, here's something I have to say just briefly, because I know there's loads of, if there's listeners that listen, there's definitely more listeners that are American overall that would pay attention to MMA stuff, at least I think, anyway, whatever. Because Europe, yes, but we don't all speak the same language. So when you're talking about numbers, there are a great amount of people in America that speak English overall and will listen to English content than in Europe. At least that's my guess, but I have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. But nevertheless, one thing I do know what I'm talking about is this. For future, I'm never calling it soccer anymore when I talk about football. For the record, I don't give a fuck about football. I used to like playing it as a kid. I like the odd kickabout and volleys and heads and volleys and shit like that. But I fucking despise the sport. I think it's really boring as shit. I think it's fairy as fuck. Like, if you knew a dude who trained and looked after their body as much as even the worst football player, you would expect them to be pretty fucking nifty in a fight and be able to take a bit of damage. These guys wearing shin pads for the sake of knowing that the refs will give them a point. So it's like, ref, why are you playing the game? You know what I mean? Why don't you change the point system? You know people are doing this. They just dive. They get barely tapped. They get cuffed. Someone has a conversation about maybe tackling someone. And then at that exact moment, the person just jumps 50 feet in the air and then rolls continuously for 75 years with their hands over their face while there's hands over their shin going, and it's just like, oh my God, everyone involved in this should fuck off. But here's one thing I'm a huge adamant about, and that's correct words. Do you want to know, people in American continent, why it's called football? Because the object is a ball. It is a spherical object, which we, as a species, have decided to call a ball. And you kick it with your foot. In fact, the use of your hands is penalized. Unless you're a goalie, but that would be the exception to the rule. It is a sport that is predominantly rule-based and set up and won by using your foot to hit a ball. Now, if you want to name your sport something that's just a name and is not itself a description of what you're doing, call it whatever you want. Golf can be called Zamboogle. Doesn't matter. There is no golf. They're not specifically saying what they're doing. It's just golf. You are hitting a small ball with a steel rod, but it's not called steel rod ball. It's called golf. So whatever, no problem. But if, oh, and also this works with rugby. It is called rugby. I don't know what a rugby is. When I joke with my friends when they went to a match, I'm like, did you win? Did you get any rugbies? Did you get a rugby? How many rugbies did you get? And when people are like, you don't get rugbies. Oh, so it's just the rugby. Did you get the rugby? Did you get a rugby? Or do you become a rugby? Are you a rugby? And, you know, it's kind of a joke, like. But once again, it's like golf. It's a name given to the pastime. This is other name derived from some shit. But if they were to call it Irish football or Anglo-Saxon football, they can fuck off a cliff with themselves, which basically means run, masturbate, and jump off a cliff. Right? So, for the sake of America, you're very good with, you know, you had a good run, and then you skewed the fuck off. Baseball, there are bases you have to run to, and there's a ball. Other times, if you're not playing baseball, you just have a stick. It's called stickball. This is completely acceptable. This is what the action is. That's fine. You have basketball. You have a basket. There is a ball. The ball is to go into the basket. That is perfectly fine. That's acceptable. That is exactly what it is in the tin. You play high-lie. I don't know what high-lie means, but it doesn't matter because it's not called an incorrect version of what you're doing. You have a weird cup curve and you fire it, and the centrifugal force runs the ball around and fires it out at a very high velocity. But you don't call it very high velocity centrifugal force manipulated by an arm wrist cannonball. You just go, fuck it, we'll call it high-lie. So this is good. So far, your track record's good. But then you do this thing where you have an object. It is an oval. It is an oval. You can call it a diamond. Learn what a diamond is. Come back to me and go, you're right. It's an oval. Which the most common shape would be an egg. In like how a ball is a sphere. Egg is to oval. All right? You, in this game, hold the oval item predominantly with your hands. Now, there is a kicker, but like the goalie, exception to the rule. Not that they play the same part, but you do have in both sports a person who plays the sport with the opposite end of appendages. But it is for a very specific one-person task and is not shared in by the rest of the people. And the rules do not affect the rest of the people on the teams. Nobody else in soccer, football, is allowed to touch the ball with their hands except for the goalie. If you're in American football, I mean, you can kind of kick a ball, but just leave it to the fucking kicker. Don't fuck around. Don't go dicking around. You leave it to the kicker. Most of the time, you're passing. I mean, I've seen people kick it, but like just kick a field goal out of nowhere. But let's go easy. Rugby has a kicker too, you know, even though you may kick the ball, but it has a kicker. It's predominantly, anyway, in order to score the main points, and the main majority of the sport is your hand holding the egg. You don't call it hand egg. I can understand that. I will accept that you don't call it hand egg, because football is your feet, you play with the ball. Hand egg is you use your hands, you play with an egg. I get that, because hand egg sounds silly. So just like you don't call high a lie using centrifugal force to rocket something really fast that is initially inertiated by an arm can ball, you call it high lie. Why the fuck didn't you call it something that is not the opposite of what that game is? You got everything else right, but you decided to call the sport where you use your hands to hold an egg football. What the fuck, man? Well, actually, you'll notice that American football actually derived from England and Europe, so there was actually always... No, you're playing rugby. You're playing rugby. You must understand that you're playing rugby. And then that changed to American football, i.e. the rule set changed to what is now understood as American football, but essentially you're playing American rugby. And if you really want to get into it, the only reason why your American rugby is so different from European rugby is because you were really shit. And the Americans and Native Americans were really fucking good. And you had to keep inventing rules to stop them winning, so that they would constantly work in your favor. Because if they didn't know the rule, you just add a new rule. You're like, no, you can't get that point because I wasn't over here and you didn't say break before the set. So you have to say break before the set. And we did, even though that wasn't a rule. It's just something that we decided to do because we thought it would sound cool. But we got points and you didn't now. Like, literally that level of childish nonsense. Go and look up Radiolab and just Google this. Seriously. You played rugby and you were crap. So you kept changing the rules until you warped it. And then you refused to accept that you were so bad at rugby, you had to change the rules so much that you were like, oh, well, we'll just call it a different sport altogether. We'll just make it football. But don't they already have football? Well, this is American football. Okay. Let's just hope none of the Europeans pay attention to this, because if they do, they will see right through all of this. And they were like, it doesn't matter. By the time we are America, we won't even remember what Europe is or even be aware that it exists. In fact, some people will think Europe is a state. That's true, folks. That happened. One of those shows where people go around, ask people on the street. And yeah, one person thought Europe was a state off, between America and Canada, which I think is Alaska. I think they thought Alaska was Europe. But anyway, nevertheless, I digress. Football, as I said from now on, that is, if I'm ever referring to American football, I'm going to call it American rugby or hand egg. You did this to yourselves, people. It's words, and you chose not to use them correctly. There's a movie called Green Street with Elijah Wood. The term based on a true story, sometimes they'll have this really, really elaborate movie, real passionate movie, all these ups and downs, and it's based on a true story, and it might be about how a person recovered from a car accident. But when they say based on a true story, they look up a recent report and they're like, oh, someone had a car accident. This happened to them. Hey, they survived. They're back home now. Okay, change the name, keep that idea. That's the based on a true story. But there's other things that are based on concepts that aren't necessarily done as based on a true story, but the concept itself is real as fuck. And that is the street hooligans, the football hooligans. There are people who, it's not as prominent as it used to be now, but there are still people who they'll go to watch the football match. And after the football match, regardless of what team wins and what team loses, fans of the teams, the two teams playing, will meet with bricks and bottles and knuckle dusters and their bare knuckles, and they'll just beat the shit out of each other until the cops come. And the team who bet the shit more and had less casualties won and is the better football club that day or week or event or whatever. And that's just what happens. And here's an extra thing just for people complaining and being all fucking arseways about, oh, this is such a black eye in sport. I think it's a black eye on people because it shows that this is the shit that you wanted. This is the shiny shit we had to show you so you'd pay attention. That's on you, sunshine. Are we shitty for pushing it maybe a bit too far? UFC? Yeah, they are. Are the fighters themselves shitty for making the kind of fucking mistakes that makes it available, makes that kind of footage and stuff available to promote? Yeah, they are. But at the end of the day, to say that the fans aren't at fault for lapping it up is a fucking lie and a denial of reality. But just to put it in context for people who still think that MMA is a violent sport, there was security and extra police called to a fight in Poland because one of the fighters during fight week who's fighting in Poland had lamented that they support a particular football team. That football team was not representative of the city that they were fighting in. In fact, they were the rival of the city that they were fighting in. And when hearing about this, like there was like signs and posts on social media, people being like, "Oh, let's trash this guy. He's supporting our enemy. We have a match in like a week or something, and he's coming to our city, and he's gonna be fucking supporting our enemy. Nah, we can't have that." So from hearing what they heard on like Instagram and Twitter and shit like that, and the feedback that your mom was getting, they had to get more police because they were worried that the fighters, the professional fighters, were going to be violently attacked by gangs of football fan hoodlums. And let me also make it clear that that is not sequestered to Poland. That is anywhere you find legit football fans. Football has some of the most passionate, the most bleeding heart to the core, beautiful fans. It also has the largest, most swinging spectrum because it also harbors maybe the worst fans in history of people to be fans of things. For what it's promoting and what actually ends up being seen in what the fans express is demonstrably implorable. It's childish to the point of your kid's a demon child cunt. There's no hope for them. They're repute. They're refuse. They are garbage. They're trash. You really do get the biggest spectrum, and that's where the worst lie. And when you know what the worst is like, and it's still one of the biggest and lucrative fucking sports in the world, you can best believe that that shit isn't changing, that shit's not going anywhere, and be so thankful. It's the kind of sport that the fans will never get too mad about in regards to hating on the people, because what they might say on Twitter, they're never going to do in person. And people who jumped into the fight and stuff, they were also fighters. That's a dumb move. You don't do that. That's dumb. Preferential treatment's going to happen regardless. I think it's really stupid that Conor gets preferential treatment, and then the fact that Dana denies that he gives him special treatment. Just admit it, call a spade, and just explain why he does, and it'll be okay. I don't think people would hate you as much. People would kind of accept it because it's Dana and it's MMA. But also for Khabib to be like, oh, you never punished Conor. Now I'm going to do fucked up shit against the rules, and I'm going to be happy that my friends did even more deplorable, worse shit. And now I'm going to fucking get really annoyed if you punish me. Don't you punish me. You don't punish people, and that pissed me off. So you better not punish me, though. I want to be the exception to the rule that I'm trying to enforce. Like, no, you lost your argument now. Now you can't. Now you can't do that. Like, understand your place. When you've done something bad, shut up. Don't point to someone else doing something bad. No one likes that. Like, everything that happened was like, what are you doing? You're fucking children. You're children. You don't fly cross country because a friend slapped your friend publicly. Like, I get it, you're annoyed, but you fight him. You pick a time, you pick a place, you make it sanctioned, and you fight each other. That happened. You either wait for that, and if you do wait for it when it happens, you don't do fucking anything afterwards. That's the whole fucking point. That's what makes this sport better than the other sports, is they can go on about how they hate each other's teammate. They can go on about how they'll do better than the other person, or they'll beat them in the race, or whatever. It doesn't matter, because a lot of that comes from, oh man, come here and say it to my face, kick the shit out of you. These guys actually do end up fighting. Khabib fought him. He won. Really well. That's it. There should be no fight before. There should be no fight after. And both people were stupid. Both people were really childish. You don't care what anyone says to you. You don't hit people because someone said mean things to you. You know what I mean? You don't do that. That's dumb. Everything about it was dumb. But at the same time, you can't give out to them for the UFC using it as promotion. Of course they're going to use it. And you can't give out to the UFC too much for using it as promotion because, as I said, that's the fucking shiny shit that people decided to pay attention to. So when the reality of what you're watching comes through every once in a while, don't be so fucking shocked. And respect the fact that this shit could happen way more often, relevant to the excuses and the reasons that people said it happened. But it doesn't happen. It's super rare. And it happens way more often in normal sports, where fighting isn't a part of it. Doesn't matter what sport. Like, fights break out in basketball games, fights break out at American rugby games, fights break out at rugby. Man, people gone onto the pitch and rugby. Dude, at the end of rugby matches, like, it's in rugby matches, people just start punching each other in the face. Just in a scrum or in a tackle. They just start punching each other and elbowing each other. Sometimes they'll stand off a guy to get it, like they're getting away, and they'll go clank and like lean in onto the guy's knee at like the joint where it pivots, where the meniscus is, as they're standing up, and the guys are screaming, and if the ref doesn't see it, You know what I mean? Like, this shit happens all the time. People are so fucking dirty in every fucking sport. Whenever they can get something, they get it. You just don't see it as much when it's a team sport as opposed to an individual. Also, the amount of times you've watched your team or an individual break the rules and you haven't paid attention to it because you're not looking for it because it's someone that you like, and then it's someone you hate and you notice the 1 or 2 times that they make a mistake. It's all subjective, folks. And at the end of the day, you might still be talking about one of the most prestigious organizations where the people are the most respectful, especially when you consider the high octane fucking emotion, pressure, and life-changing scenarios that can happen with every single individual fight. You're talking about creme de la creme, exemplary human beings who we seem to shit on when they remind us that they're human. Relax. Get over it. And for the fighters as well, calm down a bit. Calm down a bit. And maybe start a union and this shit wouldn't happen, as you wouldn't be annoyed that people get treated so weirdly as much. Also, side note, in regards to people being weirdly and the union, Sajara Eubanks, I have no sympathy for you. I have no sympathy for you. And for anybody, and I was very surprised with Luke Thomas. No, not so much Luke Thomas, sorry, Errol Hawani. And Brendan Schaub as well. I think Brendan Schaub is just a victim of completely forgetting. But Sajara complained because she thought she had a fight signed and done, and then she was taken off. And she was pissed off that somebody else took that place from her, and that UFC did that to her. Bitch, that's exactly what you did to Joanna. Joanna had a signed contract. It was released as a statement that this fight is on by the UFC from their fucking Instagram. The next thing Joanna saw was an Instagram from the UFC of Sajara now fighting Valentina Shevchenko. Nobody told her. She had legitimately signed the fight card. So did Shevchenko. Shevchenko didn't find that her opponent changed either. And now everyone, Sajara wants to piss on the company and the person for doing the exact same thing that she did and for being on side of the company when it was in her favor. No sympathy. It's that exact fucking attitude that what makes it bleak outlook for getting a fighters union, because everyone's just looking out for number one, so much to the point that like a fighter who's earned it really doesn't want to be screwed over, and they're demanding a certain amount, and then another fighter goes, I'll fight that card and I'll fight for a quarter of the amount you offered that person, let alone what they're asking for. UFC is like, cool, you just fucked both you and the fighter, you twat. There could have been a bar set, and you keep lowering the bar when you do that shit. And the only thing that makes me hopeful is in the most narcissistic me business in the world, we actually have precedent that they can pull their shit aside and find common ground. Screen Actors Guild, and there's a Writers Guild as well. Hollywood. Who'd have thought that people, for the same reason, an actor wants certain pay and then someone else is like, hey, I will do that role for a fraction of the price you were offering the guy. And you can lock me in for a sequel for the same price if it does well. In that world, they still manage to agree that a third party making sure that you can't really stop favoritism, but you can certainly stop almost slavery and contract abuse from a company. Duress, decisions made under duress and fear-mongering. You can certainly curb it at least. So there is hope that something like that can grow in an industry that is very me-centric. And I hope that changes for the future. But all that aside, the fact of the matter is Dana tweeted that Khabib wants to fight Tony, not McGregor, which is fine. I don't want a rematch right away. I would love if Khabib fought Tony. Whoever wins, it doesn't matter because Khabib's going to retire. Then Conor fights Tony for the belt. And then let's say he beats Tony, he fights Nate again, beats Nate. And then Khabib comes back for the rematch. That's the rematch I want to see. But the way it's standing right now, I don't mind. It's cool. I'd like to see Conor have another fight. But it's cool to wait for a month or so. Maybe some fight next year. Early next year. Maybe February, March. But I don't care if they want to make it 1,000 times and it falls through. Keep making Ferguson versus Khabib until it happens. Dude, man, since I first watched John Jones versus Gustafsson, I've wanted John Jones versus Gustafsson too. And now it's happening. And now the intangibles are real because they've both been out for ages, although John Jones hasn't actually been out as long as Gustafsson, which seems really odd in my head, but it is what it is. That's going to be fucking mental. Jones has not been training and doing as much as Gustafsson has been, but Gustafsson has had surgery on his hands. There's a lot of intangibles, man, because I love this fight. Like, it's like, oh, well, they're pretty much the same height, and they have pretty much the same opponents, and they have pretty much the same reach, and they are pretty fucking good dynamic strikers, and they're both pretty fucking good at wrestling. Even though it's like, how is Gustafsson that good at wrestling? He doesn't really drive as much as he kind of will keep spinning them in a circle until he can kind of gather their legs to taper in on themselves, and then he'll pull them down. It's cool, it's weird, it's interesting, it's different. It's so much intangible, so much stuff that isn't on paper that we can't weigh, and that's what makes fights really and considering the first fight was like, if they said, and the winner is Gustafsson, I'd have been like, okay, yeah. And just as much as when they said the winner was John Jones, I was like, okay, yeah, okay. I can't wait till that game. I wanted it for so long, and it's happening. Well, they still have their time. I don't know. Maybe John Jones is a bit of a higher ceiling, so I don't know if he's reached his peak, and there's a chance Gustafsson reached his peak already. Between both the fight with Jones and the fight with DC, but nevertheless, we will see. Speaking of DC, even though I'm not massive into fighters getting the shit beaten out of them and then having another fight that's quite soon, because of the opponent and like the style of the opponent and the kind of person DC is, he's not a mean guy. He's not going to go in there and try and bludgeon fucking Derek Lewis to death. He's going to take him down. He's going to hold him down, might submit him and get him out there clean without taking too much damage. And at the same time, Derek Lewis, I think, is way more dangerous than Rumble with his punches. I think he can still throw that leather he has proven he can throw that leather in the latest of the latest rounds, and completely change a fight. We know when DC got hit once from Johnson and he stumbled backwards, he was like, he said it to the like when they asked him it on, he was like, oh, I knew that moment was like, you cannot take that again. You cannot take a hit that flush. Don't ever get that cocky again. You be careful, you son of a bitch. I still see DC winning, but it's still compelling. I'm really happy for Derek Lewis. He deserves the limelight. He deserves the attention. He's murked a lot of fucking people, man. He's got a serious fucking good record. And he fucked Volkov at the very end. Volkov was dumb. That was silly. He shouldn't have done that. You go on your bike, pedal away for the rest of the fight. But no, he kept going at him, taunting him as well, repeating what Derek Lewis's corner was saying to Volkov. Was what Derek Lewis's corner was saying to Derek Lewis. Come on, Derek. Finish it. And Derek was like, okay, I'll finish it. And his balls were hot. It was just fantastic. I also love that, like, in the melee and the skirmish after the fight of 229, and when it got all so serious, and they went back to the Fox panel, and they were like, how do we diffuse this depressing, too serious situation? Somebody in that room had the amazing idea, and they were like, oh my God. Get Derek Lewis a microphone and a camera and put him on the Fox thing now. And then everyone's like, oh my God, that's such a good, now, go. Miss Lewis, they watch you up at the paddle. He's got to talk to you. Okay, yeah, cool, I'll go. And then Karen Bryant and Tyron, huh? Derek Lewis coming. Oh, I like Derek Lewis. Oh, he's coming up a chat. Hey, cool. That energy. Yeah, you like Derek Lewis. Oh, I love Derek Lewis, man. That energy. Keep that energy. And then project to Derek Lewis. I want that Derek Lewis energy. I want Derek Lewis. Just keep it. Energy. Happiness. Yeah. Okay, yeah, cool, Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis comes up. Hey, yeah, what's up, I'm Derek Lewis. Hey, it's Derek Lewis. And it's just complete distraction. And look over here. Don't pay attention to the seriousness. It was perfect. And then to bring it home, like, dude, the fucking promo for that fight's going to be, and what exactly do you have against Daniel Cormier? And why did you say you were going to beat his ass? Yeah, and then Dan's like, yeah, man, What? Why do you hate me? I want to know too. He disrespects Papa's chicken, man. And fucking DC piss themselves laughing, collapses on the desk and stuff. That's a good oxymoron. That's a good balance to the seriousness of the other fight. And I'm so happy for it. They're not for a wee while now. But I can't wait for that shit. Good fights coming up. It was a good fight, though. What happened? It was a good fight, man. That was such a fucking good event, 229. Yes, there was that bullshit, but what pissed me off more than anything was after-fact media and stupid fucking opinions of people who clearly have no fucking clue that they're in like reality and they're on Earth and what happens on Earth and people and stuff. It's ridiculous how people expect other people to be and do and what they want from things, and then they think that because they have an ability to voice it that it matters. What? We don't matter. Listen, children. Here's the dark secret right here. I'm gonna end it on this, that it's you can take it as dark or you can take it as fucking profound. We don't matter and we never will matter to anything ever. The only thing that can and will ever be any significance are the people that we choose to spend our time with, to work for, and to make happy. And those who want us to be in their lives for the same reasons. They are the only things that matter. They are the only things that will ever matter. Everything else is icing. Everything else is water cooler banter. Everything else is just other stuff to talk about. When you really get down to the brass tacks, most, if not anything, doesn't really matter. What matters are the people close to you that you hold dear, the people who push you, the people who inspire you, the people who love and who love you. That is all. That is all that will ever be in your existence. That is all that will ever matter in your existence. So when you go on Twitter or Instagram or YouTube comments and you have this vitriol, when you protest at a building, have a really long, hard think about what the fuck you're doing, what the fuck you think you're trying to change, why the fuck you're saying it. Are you even involved or connected to the thing that you're talking about in any way? Do you even take into concept that there is no Illuminati, and most of the time it's just individual people who they take their hand, they put toilet paper and they wipe the shit out of their asshole, because that's what humans do, and there's no difference between anyone else on the planet while we're still wiping shit out of our asshole. You must understand that you poo. If you poo, if someone can take a look in your life and at one moment you are as vulnerable and as like, oh God, this is embarrassing, as just someone opening the door when you poo, then you forever in your existence will be nothing greater than just a human. Humans are the greatest thing that's ever existed in the universe, so be grateful of that. As far as we know, there's nothing more advanced, there's nothing more capable. There's nothing that can manipulate and harness the forces of the universe to our own benefit. We are the greatest thing that has come across. However, we must understand that we are all human, no more. And when we shit on other people and shit on lives and shit on movies and shit on directors and shit on actors and shit on coaches and shit on fighters and shit on news people and shit on individual members of companies and all these kind of things, understand that if you're not doing it just for the banter, for the conversation, for the art of sparring with your brain, with thoughts, perspective, growing your understanding of things, and taking in more information to get a better grasp of the scenario. If you're not doing it for that reason and you're doing it to forcify why you think you're right, why you think what you're doing is better, or why you think what someone doing is wrong and they should be punished, you're a cunt. If you do that, you're a cunt and you've missed the point of life. If you do it the other way and you're just doing it for banter, for the sake of exploring your ideas, you're learning, you're growing, and you're being exactly what you're supposed to be, and that is an evolving human. So respect in the failure. Have humility in being conquered. Take a second to remember the things that if they were gone, like literally gone, people or things, how fucked would you be? And have on a list, be like, which of these things is it my car? Is it my computer? Is it my group of friends? Is it the bar that I go to? Is it the music that I listen to? Is it this few moments I have in this particular seat in this particular coffee shop that I take an hour out a day? You know, think about these things. And if you find yourself with this list of all stuff that you think your life would be forever changed and fucked, and it's all stuff that you can just sort of buy, or sign up to, like a Twitter account or something, I think you might be doing it wrong. If it's the simple pleasures in life, I think you're doing things right. It doesn't mean we don't want extra shit, but just bear in mind that you don't want a $300 million yacht. You want someone to give you a $300 million yacht to use whenever the fuck you want to with your friends for a small period of time. Because you don't want the upkeep. You don't want to have to worry about the staff. You don't want to have to worry about getting calls because the thing's rusting. You don't want to worry about a storm that knocked a certain piece off that's going to cost another $500,000 or like 20 million, 30 million to fucking fix. You don't want to worry about any of that at all. You just want to have the access to it. There's a lot of things we think we want. We don't actually want it. We just want to experience it briefly in a time space, usually with the people that matter to us. So when you think about it in reality, it's the people that matter to us, and it's experiencing life with the people that matter to us. That's what really works. So take the enjoyment you can from the sports that you watch, from the shows that you watch. Don't sit there pissing on the negative parts, because you can find negative in fucking everything. And if you can find that much negative in something that for the most part isn't affecting anybody, the second you stop paying attention to it, you know, why are you wasting your fucking time? Be a better person, do more, because you can find, man, the fucking joy that you get sometimes from the simplest fucking things is insane. Like we've shit weather here, okay? It's not the best. It's not that it's not the best. It's just it's very inconsistent. If I wake up one morning, just let's say I didn't plan to wake up, but it's 6 a.m. because I'd take a piss, and I can feel that the air is warm, and then I open the window and it's like it's sunny outside, and I open the window and I can feel there's actually a warmth to the air. I'm up, I'm out straight away. I get whatever food I need to get to. If I have the money, I plan, I'm going to eat here, I'm going to eat here. I get on my bike, I pick a spot with water that's out in the open, and I go to it. And I try and lap up and enjoy the sun as much as possible. And that little thing to me is so fucking more important than the lie-in. You know what I mean? Even if I went to bed the night before. And it's finding these little things. I love UFC because of all the mixed martial arts, it just was there the longest. It cemented itself at the forefront that it has some of the best of the creme de la creme de la creme. And some of their weight classes in Bellator aren't actually doing too shabby these days. But the little bits that I take from this, because I fucking hate all the extra bullshit. I really do. It's not my cup of tea. I'll talk about it. I'll watch the fights, but I'm not a massive fan of the extra bullshit and the little bits that matter to me. I like that fight with Anthony Pettis and Tony Ferguson, where someone like Duke Roufus does the right thing. When Anthony respects that. When Tony respects that. When the two of them respect each other. When they go out all out war and they couldn't admire each other even more because of it. When Fedor beat Chael and Chael goes into the locker room chatting with Fedor. And because he's starstruck. He's Fedor, for fuck's sake. Never really got that myself, but other people do, you know. And I understand why Fighter Chael's age as well would, from his time and his tenure, would see Vader like that. There are so many fights where people have gotten murked, and then they go and they see the person who murked them, and they're happy and thumbs up and everything. It's those moments are the moments that will never die, and they will always exist. And that's why I'll always watch this sport. And I'm not going to let the fact that the sport has grown and it's going to follow the similar tropes that other mainstream sports follow. And it'll happen a lot quicker and a lot more of a potency, because it's got this quick extra catalyst to its growth. I'm not going to let that shake my love for it, and I hope it doesn't let people shake their love for it either, because it really is, at its pinnacle, a beautiful, beautiful fucking art of war. It is beautiful violence at its most precision and respectful, and I love it. It's fucking mixed martial arts, man. And it's the shit. Right, so, can't wait for the next fucking fights coming. Gonna be some fucking barn burners. Until then, thank you very much for listening. I really hope that this one actually is online. I hope that it's in sync for the most part. I'm sorry if it's not. And I hope that you can actually hear me. So until I do this again, down the Mexican on all the socials, all that stuff there. Follow, like, subscribe, send me messages, chat to me, discourse, all of those things. We will grow together. Love you. Peace.